Welcome to Subramani. I'm going to talk about a topic close to my heart, which is portfolio sizing. I think I've done videos earlier, but I was just wondering as to whether I've not done a video in such detail. Maybe this will go to 2-3 videos. So first of all, the biggest wealth has been created by people with extremely focused portfolios. In fact, single stock portfolios. So whether it's a Warren Buffett making money on Berkshire Hathaway, or a Mukesh Ambani making money on Reliance, or Bill Gates making money, or whether it is Jeff Bezos making money, or Gautam Adani. Sorry, they've all stuck to one company, right? Does that work for you and me? Answer is no, because these are companies which they are running. Secondly, Warren Buffett also, when he owns his company invests in many companies, right? So he's holding a diversified portfolio, but the diversification is inside the company. Otherwise, he's holding only one company, right? So also Warren Buffett does not invest outside of America too much, but then he invests in companies like Coke, which have operations in maybe 130 countries, right? So, and that is the other possibility, that you own just one stock, but the stock itself owns many companies. Like for example, Mr. Ambani may hold Reliance, but Reliance will have a investment in Jio and Reliance Retail, XYZ, maybe a Reliance Bank, right? So they are holding a partially diversified portfolio, but they are holding the company which they are managing. Similarly, Azim Premji holds Wipro. Personally, he may be diversifying, he may be investing in other companies, but largely his wealth has been created in the company which he owns and runs. Now, the challenge is for us, can we have such a concentrated portfolio? Can we say we invest only in one company, which is a listed company, somebody else is running it? I think it's going to be very, very difficult, because you suffer from something called a concentration risk, right? It's not right even for the Premjis and Ambanis of the world or Adanis of the world. So they do have a personally diversified portfolio, but big part of their wealth, the fact that they could have money for diversification, came from their main company. Now obviously copying them makes sense. So should we have a concentrated portfolio, say only 3 shares or say only 7 shares? That sounds very brave and very risky, because one COVID or something like that can completely wreck your portfolio, right? So should you instead go like the mutual fund route of having 70-80 companies? Typically small cap funds have that, because they don't want to put more than 3% in one company. So they have say 70-80 companies, and obviously as it goes down even to smaller numbers than 3%. My peeve with this is, let a fund manager do this, because if I have a position which is insignificant portion, if I have 100 shares or 500 shares of a company worth 2 lakhs, it may be insignificant for my total portfolio size. So to me it makes no sense unless it is at least 2% of my portfolio for me to even look at it, right? So for me the sweet spot could be anything from 25 to 35, or maybe going even up to 50 if I take all the portfolios, the ones which I control, the ones which say my wife's, mine, my mother's, my daughters, my sisters. So if I have 4-5 portfolios, I look at it as a percentage of that rather than as a percentage of just my own portfolio, right? So even if I look at it as a percentage of that, it should at least be 1 or 2%, so that it is significant enough for me to remember it, right? So that sweet spot, like a focus fund, is 30. Why have focus funds so chosen 30? I have no idea, but 30 seems to be a good number even for you and me, where we choose that not less than 2% should be in somebody comes and tells you XYZ, let's say Tesla, I don't want to give Indian examples, that Tesla is a good buy. There's no point in buying less than 2% or 3% of your portfolio. I'm not even getting into whether Tesla is a good buy. Luckily for me, there's nobody in the US watching and taking a decision based on my videos, but here I don't want to give an Indian example. Even if I do give you an Indian example, you have to assume that it is there in my portfolio, and I'm giving it just as an example and not as a recommendation. So please subscribe to my channel, ring the bell, and so that you can get all my videos. Having said that, The question to ask is, how will you buy the shares, and how many shares will you buy, and how will you hold, right? I'm very clear about how I will diversify my portfolio, or how many shares I will hold. And what do? I get the balance sheet, I look at it, and my looking at the balance sheet could be for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, makes no sense. But then I would know somebody in the industry who knows an analyst, right? Because it takes an analyst to analyze a company. It's easy for me to pretend, I used to do analysis. That was long back, that was decades ago. Today I'm just at best a courier boy. I can take an idea from one person and give it to an analyst and say, hey, give me a feedback, right? So that is necessary, because the diligence that is required for doing research, I don't have it. I completely lack it. I don't do it, that's all. It's not that I don't know how to do it, I've just given up. So I pick up one of those young boys or girls, and they do a good job of analyzing, and then I talk to the right people, maybe the competitors, maybe the ex-employees, or somebody who's been a merchant banker to that client, or those are the real people who know some of the inside stories. Sometimes even lawyers would tell you something about them. So if you're knowing more people, in fact I keep saying knowing 2 people is much better than doing 2 days of research. So at my stage of life, I don't have the diligence to do that kind of research. But having got an answer, I start slowly building up a position, and then after I like the company, I hold for some time, then I buy more, or I may even trim the position, or I may take a big position and start selling on the way up, or I may take a small position and go up to buy, right? All those things can happen when you know that the management is good, that the product is good, that the product is visible, and somebody who has visited the factory tells you that it's nice, it's run well. I mean, this is for manufacturing companies, that they give a lot of importance to governance, they give a lot of importance to cleanliness, etc. That's the time when you're getting non-financial feedback. So you take all that, you see politically how are they indifferent to the politician, are they on the orange side, or on the green side, or blue side, or whatever, because you don't want somebody to be crucified because they're on the wrong side. Or is it somebody who knows to play all sides, right? So that's all those things go into deciding on the qualitative factors. Of course, you're looking at market share and things like that, but you realize that even with market share, some industries don't make money. You have Indigo in case, right? It does not, as of now, it's not making money for the shareholder at all. If you bought at 900, you can be very happy that it is 1800, but it does not make money for the shareholder, at least not as of now. Airlines themselves internationally don't make too much money for the shareholders. So maybe airports make money, maybe shops in airports make money, maybe vendors to airlines make money, but airlines themselves don't make money, right? So once you get a fair value from the analyst, once I get the fair value from the analyst, suppose he tells me the fair value of the company is about 600, say 100. Well, that's a good price to start with, because if it's available at 40, then you are willing to pay a higher, I'm willing to buy a higher quantity, right? So because I think there's a bigger gap, there's a bigger thing to catch up, bigger moat for me, not for the company, bigger moat for me, bigger safety net, that I've got 60 rupees to earn in this. At 40, I may put up a 3% position rather than a 2% position. As the price goes up, 40, 50, 60, I may say, okay, I will stop buying at 60, because then I've already reached 2% or 3% of my total portfolio. Especially this happens when the market is doing nothing, but one particular share of yours is going up. Then you have to be more careful to see, is it going up because you have bought it, in the sense, it's not that the market is going up because I have bought it, but the endowment effect. Once you buy a share and the price goes up, you think, see, I influenced it. No, not that, but to control your ego into believing that, look, I was right. So sometimes you have to cut down that position and say, okay, let me book some profits. There's nothing wrong in booking profits through the journey. As it marches up, let's say it goes to 120. Now the problem is, at 120 you're very happy, and you call the analyst. Unfortunately, the analyst also could be getting carried away, saying, oh, I always thought that it is a great company, but I wanted to be conservative, therefore I said 100. I think it has got potential to go to 150. Now you have to control your ego, his ego. If you can either reach the promoter, or you can reach the promoter's competitor and find out what really is happening. A little bit of market share. Are they gaining market in Rajasthan? Are they losing market in Northeast? Some things like that, which is not at all. As far as the market is concerned, it is not price sensitive information unless you know how to use it. Then you talk to the analyst again and decide that okay, I do think that till it reaches 100, you don't have too much of action necessary. By the time it reaches 100, suppose it is 5% of my portfolio or 4% of my portfolio, then the decision making is important as to, do I just hold on and let it grow to 8% or 7% of my portfolio because other parts of the portfolio are not moving, or start trimming down positions saying, oh, hey, something is wrong, why is the market not moving and why is this company moving? So these are conflicts which are very difficult to handle. So based on all that, you buy a share, hold on to a share, you start pruning a share, and then some shares you just give up and say, this is too good, let me just not bother. Let's say it's a Colgate or a HUL. You know that they will go through times when their PE will be 85 and sometimes when their PE will be 35. Doesn't really matter because you can't know how the market is going to react. You only know that, well, they got market share, they have got a huge market share, so the coming in of a competitor doesn't really hurt. But when HUL came out with its toothpaste, it did hurt Colgate. When Nirma came out with soap, it definitely did hurt HUL. So when Hindustan Unilever took over Tomco's Nihar oil, it must have definitely hurt Bombay Oil or Marico as it's now called. But then Marico had the ability to weather the storm, create its own brand very successfully. Maybe they had taken leaves out of Karsanbhai Patel of Nirma, right? So they built back, they built their company, and yes, some damage did happen to the levers and Colgates, but then you don't have to really worry too much because they got the management which can come back. Some companies which you think maybe the best is already past, you don't then get carried away by their past performance. You have to ruthlessly cut, right? For example, if the PE of a company is changing for the negative, then you have to worry saying how much will it fall. If the PE of Hindustan HDFC Bank falls from 30 to 25 or say 25 to 20, then you have to worry as to whether the PE will ever be regained in a far more competitive market, right? So these are all things which you are keeping on guessing and adding and reducing and things like that, and in the long run your portfolio gets built. Like some fund managers say, portfolio sizing is both an art and a science. It's an art because nobody can get it perfect. It's a science because you have to put a process in place. If you don't put a process in place, you will get carried away. I have gotten carried away in the past. I have pruned my position, then I've added back. So I've done all kinds of things. I've gone to 20% of my portfolio. I've gone to 30% of my portfolio in a single share, then reduced. Then I found that I've been 18% or 20% of my portfolio in a group. Then I had to prune down. So all these things will happen. So it's a process. If you enjoy the process, learn it. If you learn it, you implement it. If you don't want to learn, if you don't want to do, then you're better off going to a mutual fund. Even better than going to PMS, where you're not sure as to how they will do the structuring, whether you will be involved in it. You can't be involved in it if you're putting 50 lakhs. You can be involved in it if you're putting 5 crores. How much should you put? Your call. Thank you.